Welcome back, everybody. I'm continuing on with my Gras collection, and next on the table is another Gras that is actually another modification of the 1874 Gras. This is a this is actually a conversion to the which carries the M14 designation. The M14 designation was a conversion from the 11mm Gras cartridge, which is, incidentally, this is an 11mm Gras formed from a 348 Winchester. It's a very good donor cartridge to create these Gras cartridges. But this one is in the Labelle cartridge. The Labelle cartridge, the base is relatively close to these, but it's 8mm rather than 11mm, and of course smokeless powder. The conversion that took place was strictly for rear echelon troops. Again, this was no longer a frontline firearm at the time, but it was converted to these. It was a fairly easy conversion since the materials were readily available. We'll bring it up close, and you can see it has a very heavy front barrel. And from what I understand, they would just cut off the front of the barrel on the 11mm Gras and fit them to the new barrels on these conversions, so that the same bayonet fits still. But this is a Gras bayonet rather than the Closeups bayonet that I showed in the last video. Mounting is exactly the same. It's a little shorter bayonet, but it will slip right on this old Gras barrel front end, as well as the Closeups bayonet still fitting on this firearm too. Slips right on into place. I showed that bayonet in the last video, and I wanted to quickly show again, they were still engraving the bayonets. You can see the build date is 1879 on this one. The month is there, and the Sate Etine, forgive my pronunciations. But back to the rifle. We'll go to the manufacturing roll mark on this one. And there you can see the 1874, which was the Gras designation, and the M14 added for the Labelle. And also, this has the M80 modification to it, and that is this groove right here cut into the receiver to allow spent gases to escape in case you have a cartridge malfunction. That was probably done to the rifle as an 1874 Gras cartridge, and then it was still viable on the M14 conversion, the Labelle conversion. And you can see we also have an added handguard on the firearm now. The sights are modified. They flip forward for standard use. We can elevate them. I believe they are good to 2,300 meters, if I remember right. Yes, 2,300 meters. I don't know if you'll be able to see that or not, but we'll get that shot of that in there. And then they can also be flipped rearwards with these elevation notches, and no way of knowing what those are without knowing what they are, because there's no markings on the firearm as to what they are. And then of course the ever-present cartouches on the stock are still present. What a magnificent piece of history. Serial number It does match the bolt. And there's our holy water plug. Again, I explained that's a military marking actually. This one carries the date, if I can read it here, 1883 on the stock date on this one. Some of the other markings. Serial number marking on the bolt. Some small repairs, such as that small plug added on the handguard. Slender barrel. And of course, this, as I said, chambered in the 8mm Maus, or 8mm Labelle. These they are generally thought of as not having a safety, but it actually does have a half cock position. You can simply pull back to half cock and then to full cock, quite stiff to get it back. Visually, virtually no difference except for the few changes in the from clear back from the Closeups firearm. But really a fun study in the perseverance of this firearm through the ages, and still fun to shoot with the 8mm smokeless powder cartridge. Well, there we go. The second installment of the Gras rifle collection. I encourage you to look up the history if you're interested in more of it, to find out a little more of the development of these firearms and how they came into being. And we will close this out and go ahead and get a second, or rather third Gras out and take a look at it. Thanks for watching.